Hello everybody, Slim Kirby here. Welcome back to more Let's Play Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. Last time we finished up Part 2, which means it's time to start Part 3. Part 3, Intersecting Vows. Part 3 is really where, map commentary!
3 years ago, Crimea freed itself from Daean tyranny. Its nobles used that freedom to berate the queen and scrabble for power. Disgusted with their greed and arrogance, Ike and the Grail mercenaries left the court behind and returned to work. Thanks to their efforts and to Queen Elincia's even-handed rule, Crimea has avoided a bloody civil war. Before departing the capital once again, Ike receives disquieting news from Queen Elincia. The Black Knight, the man who murdered Ike's father, has once again been seen in Daean. The Queen's words hang heavy over Ike as he leads the mercenary group back to their headquarters.
Anyway, as I was trying to say, Part 3 is actually where the biggest part of the game happens. The biggest part of the storylines here, it's kind of where all the other stories kind of come together, and it's really just where, the main part of the game just, comes into play and resolves itself. So this is definitely going to be probably the biggest part of the game. Not sure what that means in terms of video numbers, but I guess we'll figure that out when we actually get to that point. But anyway, the story actually shifts over to Ike and the Grail mercenaries now, so we're going to focus on these guys for the majority of Part 3, which is actually pretty cool because, the Grail mercenaries are awesome. The last game kind of revolved around them, and, it's going to revolve around them again in this game as well. But I do like how they kind of had different parts to the game, how there's not just, focusing on one side. It did give this game a lot of unique charm, I guess you could say. And especially in the middle of this part, you'll definitely see, how creative this game gets with, the different sides and stuff, and we might even actually have to fight some of our old allies, so yeah, that makes things kind of interesting, at least in my opinion. But anyway, now we're back at the old mercenary fort, and Ike is just talking to his comrades, so that is basically what's going on right now. Oh, but it seems Ike has a visitor. It's our good friend Ranulf from Path of Radiance. Alright. Perfect. So yeah, Ike and Ranulf are actually old wartime buddies. Because back in Path of Radiance, Ike's forces and Gallia actually kind of had a little bit of an alliance. Gallia kind of helped us get on our feet and got our whole, what am I trying to say? It got our whole, army started, I guess. Uh-oh. Well, it seems like Ranulf has some bad news. And there seems to be a war. Oh wow, the Laguz are actually going to be going against Binyan. So that's twice that Binyan's actually going to be on the enemy side. As I said before, there are definitely a lot of things going on in Binyan that would definitely make them a very, very dangerous competitor, I guess you could say. And it actually kind of started with Raphael, this whole thing. And yeah, the Benyon senators were actually ordering the Herons' extermination. And yeah, because a lot of the Laguz nations are actually very fond of the Herons, that would definitely cause them to make a giant uproar. Because there was like a mass extinction of the Heron clan. That plot point was kind of explained earlier, and in this game a little bit, or in Path of Radiance definitely. That's what I meant to say.
Raphael,
But more map commentary.
eldest prince of the Heron clan, returns in the company of the Wolf Queen Nyla and the mage Tormod to tell a dire tale. The shocking story he relates ignites a terrible fury in the hearts of the Laguz. The assassination of the previous Benyon apostle sparked the massacre of the Heron clan, as well as the burning of their home, the Serenus Forest. That murder and the resulting catastrophes were long thought to be the work of Dain's former ruler, the Mad King Ashnard. Now, however, Prince Raphael, a survivor of the massacre, reveals that those directly responsible were none other than the senators of Benyon. Upon hearing this tale, the Hawk King Tibarn is consumed with an unspeakable rage. He shares this information with the Raven King Nisala and the Beast King Kanagis, and they form a Laguz alliance. Together with the Heron royal family, they send messengers to the leadership of Benyon, demanding an explanation from the senators. Benyon rebuffs their requests, however, denying any wrongdoing and refusing to investigate Raphael's claims, as if to emphasize their decision to silence the Laguz inquiries. The Empire goes so far as to murder an alliance messenger. This callous act of arrogant defiance pushes the alliance into declaring war upon the Benyon Empire. Gallia's sub-commander Ranulf considers the merits of attempting to simply overpower Benyon. He recognizes, however, that pitting brute force against Benyon's magic and tactical prowess will result in massive alliance casualties. He decides to enlist the strength and knowledge of his old wartime ally, Ike, and the Grail mercenaries. Ike is an acquaintance of Benyon's apostle, however, and is at first reluctant to become involved in the conflict. Yet, when he considers the senator's cold-blooded murder of the alliance messenger, he can feel the anger that burns in the Laguz's hearts. Determined to force the senators to answer for their crimes, he agrees to help the Laguz alliance.
Okay, so I should probably just shut up when it comes to stuff like that. Prologue, the Great Advance. Anyway, yeah, the map commentator basically just explained everything, so I had no reason to get tongue-tied. Okay, so here we are in the war room. We are helping Gallia on their side of the Laguz Alliance. And here we have a new character. This is Skramir. Skramir is actually the commander of the Gallian Laguz army. He's not the leader of Gallia, but he is in charge of the armies. And I believe he's also Kanagis' nephew, I think. And Skramir is a bit of a hothead, and he is definitely overconfident in his own abilities. So he's going to be a handful. And yeah, this is only his first major battle, too. Ike is confirming that the Goose armies are in the right, and Benyon should not have been murdering their messengers. And I believe we already get thrown into the middle of battle. Or, no, we get a base first. I didn't remember that. But there's not really much to do here. One thing worth mentioning, for Part 3, you actually start off with a lot of characters. Right away we have 11 characters. And I'm going to go ahead and say right now, I'm not going to be talking about all these characters at once, because that will take up way too much time. So what I'm going to do is for these next 3 chapters, I'm going to be explaining a select few characters, and then, you know, in the next chapter I'll explain the next set, and then the chapter after that I'll explain the rest of the characters. So I'm going to take some time to go over these characters, just not at the moment. But yeah, these are the units we'll be working with for a little while. We'll get some other units here pretty soon. Some of which were actually in Part 2. So yeah, we're actually pretty well to do in this part of the game. A lot of the Grail mercenary characters are already like halfway through their second class, so they're already like more powerful than a lot of the other units we've seen so far, which actually makes these characters kind of the best in the game, just because you get them at a really good point, and by the time you kind of join everybody together, they're usually the strongest. So I'll be using a few Grail mercenary characters, of course, but I'm not going to try to overload my armies with them. Can't do anything with supports just yet. I don't think I can reward any experience either, because I don't have any. I know I did get bonus experience from the last chapter, but that bonus experience stays with the Crimean forces, so if we see them again, we'll get that bonus experience back. And speaking of which, the MVP of the last chapter was Har. Not that I'm surprised or anything, because I used him like 50 million times over. And okay, let's go ahead and go to the info conversations. We have quite a few, but we'll go ahead and look at all these. This will probably be a huge dialogue and, you know, pre-battle type of video. Which is fine, because the prologue chapter is actually pretty short, so it won't take very long to do that battle. And Ranulf is kind of beaten up about putting us in the middle of this situation. Okay, yeah, Skrimir is Kanagus' nephew, and he is the next future king of Gallia. Okay, next we're going to talk with Mist, who is Ike's sister. And yeah, now they're talking about their father, which was something else explained a little earlier. The Black Knight was actually the murderer of Ike and Mist's father. And in the last game, you actually saw a cutscene of that happening. And Ike was the only one around when that happened. Mist was actually, I think, sleeping at the time. And now she's sad because she doesn't want the same thing to happen to Ike, so she wants to be here and help us out. Okay, next we'll talk to Scrimir. But yeah, Scrimir is a lion Laguz, which is another beast type. But I think the lions are actually programmed to be the strongest of all. I don't know if that means, like, they're balanced on everything, or if they're just, you know, more powerful, or... I don't know, like, the key differences between all the different beast types, but... At least in this game, a lot of the lions are definitely more powerful than the other beast Laguz. And this is going to be kind of a useless conversation in retrospect, because it's not really talking about anything important, it's just calling attention to the fact that Oscar can cook. Oh, Titania. Okay, yeah, so that was probably not very important to you guys, but whatever. I like looking at those conversations. It kind of gives a little interesting backstory to some of the characters. Maybe not really even backstory, but, you know, just a unique conversation, I guess. Okay, well, this last 18 minutes have been very, very eventful. So let's actually leave and get started. Okay, so we're actually outside now with the enemy commander, General Septimus. And Septimus is actually kind of a scaredy cat, honestly. And not only that, he's also terrified of Laguz, so... This war is not going to be a lot of fun for him, that's for sure. And just look at the force that we have. We have a lot of Laguz. And those are just the green units. We have a lot of allied units ourselves, as you guys already know.